然后预选赛我们也是第1名，所以后面打8强赛打皇族也一定要赢。
저는 솔직히 EDG라는 팀에 대한 강점은 별로 없다고 생각하는 게 그냥 EDG는 쉽게 이길 거예요.
And that was just simply amazing coming out from Royal Club. And it's going to be Edward Gaming that push through and march on to the quarterfinals.
以前在国内经常赢他们，如果输了的话，会非常失望吧。但如果从
Welcome back to the 2014 League of Legends World Championship, coming to you this week from Busan, South Korea. The audience is fired up here at the Bexco Auditorium as the knockout stage continues. 2 spots in the semi-finals still up for grabs. Just moments ago, the teams entered the venue with Edward Gaming getting themselves backstage and set up for game 1 of the day. Starhorn Royal Club as well, sitting, chatting, making sure their strategies are ready for the day. Welcome, guys. I am Trevor Quickshot Henry, and joining me once again to share their expertise to the proceedings are, of course, Mitch Crepo Forspools from the Evil Geniuses, CLG's Pizza Double Lift Ping, and rounding out the table, David Freak Turley from the North American LCS. Welcome, guys. Thank you once again. We have also teamed up with 24 broadcast partners to make sure that every minute of action from First Blood to Final Smash Nexus is beamed out around the world, live in 16 different languages. For our Chinese audience, the LPL team are on hand to provide their coverage. And of course, Korea's on-game net are serving up the action for the local crowd. Of course, the rest of the LCS team in-house as well. Here is Shox, who will be chatting with the pros later in the day. And of course, warming up the caster desk for our series today is Joe, Riv not wearing a dress, and Jat. Before we dive into today's knockout showdown, we have to discuss Samsung Blue's victory over the North American team Cloud9 yesterday. It was an incredibly exciting 3-1 series, and I want to start with Double Lift. You know, what was your takeaway from the battle yesterday, the series, and what really stands out in your mind?
Probably both teams having a really weak early game, but Samsung Blue is more concerning because they're going into the semifinals against a team who is really, really good early game. But yeah, they did get slapped around quite a bit early game by Cloud9, especially in game 1. You saw that First Blood and then just Snowball. Sneaky just hard carried. Obviously, unfortunately, Cloud9 lost, but it did expose a lot of weaknesses in Samsung Blue's early game.
I was just pleased to see that Samsung Blue was a lot less cocky than their variants in white. Looks like the head coach definitely talked to them and said, like, hey guys, don't get too overzealous. But at the same time, I was really happy to see that Cloud9 came out kicking. You know, they didn't lay down and die. They didn't roll over. They just played their game, played hard. And especially the ending of Game 4 was testament to like the willpower that Cloud9 had, and they almost took it to a Game 5. It was just a really good series.
Yeah, that was impressive.
It was a really fun series overall. I mean, I love just how darn good Samsung Blue is at closing out games. You give them a lead or equal goal to 18 minutes, they're going to crush you no matter what. As Jat said in the cast, they even win 60% of games where they're behind at 20 minutes. Like, these guys are so damn good late game. And also, it's just incredible how much High, I think, carries Cloud9, that they were almost the strategic equals of the literal best strategic team in the world, and C9 could almost go toe-to-toe there. High is an incredible player.
Yeah, unfortunately did get knocked out because at the end of the day, Samsung Blue won. So with that quarterfinal, let's take a look at the bracket as it continues to get filled in. The local crowd's having a bit of a party, as you can hear. Samsung Blue will be moving on to Seoul and will face off against their sister team, Samsung White, who did secure their semi-final berth after defeating North America's #1 seed, Team Solo Mid, earlier in the week. Just a quick programming reminder that tomorrow's last quarterfinal series between Najin White Shield and OMG will hit your browsers 3 hours later than the start time today. So for our European audiences, that will be at 10 a.m. And for our viewers in the Pacific time zone, you're looking at a 1 a.m. start time. So let's look back just a quick moment, and we had a flurry of tweets using the hashtag #WorldBigPlays. We've combed through them to find your favorite, and of course it was that epic end to the game where Cloud9 made a bold last-ditch effort to storm the Nexus and try steal the game from Samsung Blue. It was at Josh Apocalyptic. He sent in Cloud9 finding those 3 picks into the Nexus towers was a great play, but not enough. Here is your world's big play.
Take one turret. Yeah, we're going for it. We're going for it.
Okay.
They have to go for the Nexus turrets. They've got to push in there. Lemonade tanking it up. Here comes Spirit. Forget it. Try and get the Nexus turret.
Oh, they got him!
No, we can't end it. We can't end it. We can't end it. Turn around.
Kill Spirit, kill Spirit.
Yeah, run. No, end. Yeah.
They're going to go, Joe.
Go for it! He's gonna go low! Oh, doing a jump! Go for the Nexus! They're up! They're up! They're gonna dive in! The Nexus is allowed! They've won it! They've cleared it!
Longer version of it with more of the comms, and they were constantly back and forth on do we finish the game, do we not. Very little things could have made C9 win that game, and maybe the series after it was 2-2. Lemonation burning his shield. If he had blocked Twitch damage instead of trying to survive Nami, Corki doesn't die, he kills the Nexus, the game ends that way. These little things, if they had been a little bit tighter, that would have been game.
Hindsight is 2020, and I'm sure Cloud9 will learn from that. As the crowd will. You guys at home keep sending in those high caliber moves by using hashtag #WorldsBigPlays and addressing them to us at LOL eSports. As always, we're asking you to share your predictions for which team you think will come out on top. Head over to lolesports.com, click schedule, and then just rock the vote, clicking the thumbs up. And to kick your viewing experience up a notch, be sure to check out watch.lolesports.com to get real-time stats and Twitter commentary from the pros as well. Talking about Twitter, we want you to share your thoughts with us on our question of the day. The question is, what's your favorite rivalry of the 2014 World Championship and why? I'm going to ask Crepo and Double, but Crepo gets to go first.
Yeah, the rivalry or just the match that I'm looking forward to most is Blue against White. Just the both Samsung teams facing off against each other. And just seeing how much that has changed since the regular season, because they faced off a couple of times against each other already, with, I believe, Blue being the White's kryptonite. But it might change this tournament.
Well,
I hate you, Crepo. You stole my rivalry. Okay, well, I guess I'll have to go with today's match, Starhorn Royal Club versus Edward Gaming, because it's just going to be such a bloodbath. And it's not necessarily a rivalry. Like, it's not like these teams hate each other, but there's a lot of history, especially with Edward Gaming taking first place in the last 2 playoffs. I mean, these teams probably have a lot of competitive angst towards each other because Starhorn Royal Club was the finalist of last year's Worlds, but they haven't really been picking it up. And as you saw in an interview earlier, Edward Gaming is the kind of team who's like, yeah, they're not that strong because they changed rosters, so we'll see how it goes.
Well, hold that thought because we're about to get to the pregame. For you guys at home, tweet your carefully crafted and well thought out answers. Make sure they're researched, citing 2 official sources, and send them to us at LOL eSports with the hashtag Worlds. Try and make that fit in the 140 characters. Then stay tuned to see if we read your answers later on in the show. As we said, let's move on to the reason that we're here today. It is the quarterfinal showdown between a rematch of the LPL regional finals where Chinese rival Starhorn Royal Club will be taking on Edward Gaming. Coming into Worlds, it was Edward Gaming that had the #1 seed from the LPL. However, in this matchup, it's Starhorn Royal Club that has the higher seed because it was Royal Club that placed first in their group. I feel Royal Club showed up more than Edward Gaming did during the group stages. Crepo, care to comment?
Yeah, I think Royal Club did well. I mean, they only dropped 1 game, I believe, in the group stages, and The only issue I have is that it's so much on the shoulders of Uzi. I asked our stats guy here at the desk, and like, tell me why Uzi is so good. And he came to me, I was like, yeah, well, Uzi has 10.25 KDA, so he's leading the AD carries in the group stages in terms of KDA. Also, like, the least amount of deaths, he only died 8 times in group stages. That's almost only like once a game. That guy is just a god of AD carry. He's probably the AD carry that showed up the most so far in this tournament, barring maybe Imp, but Imp has shown some weaknesses here and there. So I'm looking forward to see just Uzi wreck this match.
I think another player that's worth calling out on Starhorn Royal Club as well is Insec here in the jungle. He's, I think, been phenomenal as well, and his Rengar especially, I think, is incredibly scary. He's pulled 4 bans on it so far. The other 2 games, he's 2-0 on the champion. And in fact, Clearlove also has played it 3 times, banned against twice as well, so the actual Rengar jungle matchup is one I'm looking forward to as well. It being interesting. But with Royal Club being blue side, they could probably first pick that more often, and I think we're going to either see a lot of respect or a lot of scariness from Insect's Rengar.
Yeah, I completely agree with you guys. But the thing to note is, like, Edward Gaming did underperform in group stage. We were looking at Name as the guy. We're all so excited. Look at him. And then he just didn't show up. He just completely choked. But one thing I want to point out about Starhorn Royal Club is if they start losing, communication could easily break down for that team. They're a team with 2 Koreans and 3 Chinese players. And from what I can tell, they use the smart ping system and a kind of mix of Chinese and English loanwords to communicate. I don't think if they start losing, that they'll be able to kind of bring their mentality back up together, because they don't seem to be too friendly. There was rumors of infighting between Insec and Uzi before Worlds even started, and it just doesn't seem like they could have a positive mentality as soon as they start losing.
Well, let's talk about Edward Gaming. We've discussed Royal Club at length. Edward Gaming, of course, you know, really crawling across the finish line in the quarterfinals. They lost their game to AHQ, which put them into a tiebreaker. They had to win the tiebreaker at the end of the Taipei stage, which they did fairly convincingly. But for the #1 team from China, they look battered and bruised in the group stages here at Worlds. They're up against Starhorn Royal Club, who they've played several times over the last few months. I know, Freak, you've talked about this a couple of times leading up to this point.
Yeah, here's the interesting thing is EDG feel more like a playoff team than a regular season team. As far as individual matchups between EDG and Royal Club are 3-1 against them in the regular season in the summer split. But then when they matched in the the Worlds qualifier, then Edward Gaming won the series 2-1. Lifetime, that means still a 4-3 in favor of Royal Club. But we keep seeing EDG perform mediocre in a group stage or in a regular season, and then win every playoff they've ever been a part of. They haven't lost a playoff series literally ever. So I'm wondering, is that the EDG that shows up or not?
Yeah, and I'm banking on that EDG showing up today. FCZF is the one I want to highlight. He's super consistent, 81 assists and 1.13 wards per minute. So that's pretty crazy. To be honest, both teams have similar wards placed per minute, but EDG kills 35% more wards per minute, which means their teamwork is incredible. Their communication is obviously much better because anyone can put down a ward. You can just be like, oh, I'm putting wards here, but to
Tell
sweep
that to my
wards,
teammates.
yeah, exactly. Tell that to my teammates too. But to sweep wards, it takes a lot of communication. You have to say, oh, the ward's right here. It has this many minutes left. Is it worth sweeping? It takes a lot more, I guess, team coordination to sweep.
So you're feeling the Royal Club may be lacking communication here with Gaming, may be superior. Actually, no, you are saying that. So with that in mind, let's get some predictions down. Let's talk who you think is going to win this series and why. Freak, I'm going to start with you. Is it Starhorn Royal Club or is it Edward Gaming?
I think it's Starhorn Royal Club. Just what I've seen so far this tournament says Royal Club is a slightly better team. I think it's very close. I'm going to say 3-2, and it's probably 3-2 either way. But the edge I do give to Royal Club here.
So basing it on the group stages a little more than maybe historical. Crepo, you believed in a Royal Lucian last year. It came back to bite you in the behind. Are you going to believe in them this time, or is it Edward Gaming?
No, I'm going with Royal Club again this year. The problem rather for me is that I don't know how much EDG is going to change and how much they change throughout a series of games. That's the only variable. But based on group stages, that's what you have to base yourself on. You can look in the past, but things change over time. I'm going 3-2 for Royal Club. It's very close. I might be wrong here, but I just hope we see some good games.
Yeah, I'm going to go 3-2 Edward Gaming. I think I have sold Royal Club a little bit too short. I think that they have the edge in terms of mechanical and individual skill over Edward Gaming, but in my mind, the better team will win, and the communication breakdown that might happen is kind of an X factor for me. So even though the series is super close, I would honestly say it's a 50-50 series. My gut feeling tells me Edward Gaming.
So a little bit split on the desk. Even though Monty's not with us today, he is also siding with Edward Gaming and believes that they will rise to the occasion.
Thank you, Base Money.
Against familiar opponents and in a playoff series. So our analysts are split 50-50. Let's see how your vote goes over on lolesports.com. Right now, 82% of you think that Starhorn Royal Club, last year's second place club, will be taking the series. That is a very, very big difference. And of course, we have to check in with the Prophet. That sound does mean it's his turn to reveal his pick. And since Crumbledore has correctly called 9 out of his last 10 predictions, we may need to add the disclaimer to this one. It might be a spoiler alert, right? So for this matchup, the Oracle of Upsets has proclaimed that it is Starhorn Royal Club who will be victorious. He is with Crippo, he is with Freak and the viewers. We're going to hand it over to the casters in a moment to get the games underway. Both teams say that they know their opponent's weaknesses and how to exploit them to win this series, but only one team can be correct.
Praise the Prophet.
LPL 的春夏季联赛我们都是冠军，然后预选赛我们也是第1名，所以后面打8强赛打皇族也一定要赢。
저는 솔직히 EDG라는 팀에 대한 강점은 별로 없다고 생각하는 게 일단 그 팀은 잘하는 선수가 제가 볼 때는 FGZ라는 서포터 선수밖에 안 보이거든요.
今年的皇族应该比去年皇族稍微差一点吧，因为今年的皇族组建的时间比较短，然后他们个人实力其实还都是很不错的，但是就是因为组建时间短，磨合程度不够。
일단 저희가 언어가 달라서 스피어스 전하려면 거의 약간의 중국어와 약간의 영어를 적절히 섞어서 그리고 스마트 빙을 이용해서 3개를 이용해서 아직까지는 잘 해결하고 있습니다.
This game left no doubt. Royal Club 5-1 in the group.
前期能把Isaac 的gank给限制住，然后再多次骚扰 UZI， 导致他的发育不是很好的话，我们就可以赢下皇族。
当时可能就是我们5个人的心态会比较差吧，然后输比赛输得也非常难看，然后就希望在这次的比赛中能够取得好的成绩吧。